What's it like to live in Rapid City, South Dakota? Hey, I'm Tristan Emond with Mindful Living Realty, a realtor right here in Rapid City, South Dakota, the gateway to the Black Hills. If you're watching this video, you've probably already started your research about moving to Rapid City, maybe South Dakota. So let's talk about what it's like to live here in Rapid City. One of the first things I want to talk about is we are a tourist town. I know there's a lot of other things that are encompassing here, but let's just talk about the tourism part. It's not like we're a tourist trap like Wall Drug or Keystone, but a huge part of the economy to our area comes from tourism. And this is a good thing for us. It's what helps keep our economy secure and stable. So you got to be okay with having a lot of extra people coming to the area, invading the spaces that you love, and maybe making things a little more crowded than you would like it to be during the normal times of the year. Obviously, summer is the biggest draw where people are taking their vacations. Most of the main attractions are open from Memorial Day to Labor Day. But on top of that, in the summer, you also have the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, where hundreds of thousands of motorcycles descend upon the Black Hills. While the rally is officially only 10 days long, people start coming up to a week, maybe even 2 weeks before, depending on how their schedules fit. So you can start seeing the increase in traffic and people in the area. But it doesn't stop there. We also are a huge draw for hunters during the hunter season, skiers during wintertime. A lot of people come, like from Minnesota, over with their snowmobiles, and they're snowmobiling in the Black Hills. You got to be okay with tourists running around town because that's a huge part of our economy. In a similar token, Rapid City also has a huge trade radius. If you look at a map, there's not a lot of big towns that surround us. So we've got about a 150-mile trade radius of people that are coming to Rapid City for events, for shopping, for healthcare, for financial services, and a lot of other things like that. As a local to the area, we love our Black Hills, we love our Rapid City area events, but we kind of got to share them with everybody else. Since we're talking about that trade radius, let's talk about the job market in Rapid City. Now, historically, wages are a little bit lower here in Rapid City than you might expect. And your job options are a little more limited if you're not in the fields that I mentioned before, such as hospitality, such as healthcare, anything financial, construction. Those kind of fields are pretty popular around the area, and of course, retail and those type of things. But if you get into the tech sector, a lot of IT jobs, and even some of the manufacturing jobs, we just don't have that many around here, so it's tough to find a job in those sectors. But you should have no problem if you have some kind of construction experience, trucking experience, or healthcare. As I alluded to, healthcare is also a huge factor of what draws people and economy to the area. The biggest player is the Monument Health System, which has hospitals all over the Black Hills, urgent care centers, etc. There's also a few other independent clinics and a whole other system called the Rapid City Medical System, who have their own urgent cares and clinics. Monument Health has been very busy lately, expanding their services for our region. We've got some new urgent care and primary care facilities. They're building a new hospital north of town right now, and they even broke ground on a new radiology facility. Plus, they've added over 30 physicians in the past year with numerous specialties that we need for the area. So most of what you need, you can get at the hospital system here in Rapid City. But of course, it's not as extensive as other areas. Sioux Falls-based health center Sanford has also made some inroads into Rapid City, buying some surgery centers and clinics to start making their presence known here in Rapid City, which hopefully will be good for us. If you look at a cost of living chart, you'll notice that healthcare expenses are a little bit above national average. Hopefully some of this more competition will help bring those prices down. One of the main things people tell me that are moving to the area they love is no traffic. Obviously we've got a little bit, but you can be from one side of town to the other in 20 minutes. No matter where you're at in town, you can probably be where you want to go in under half an hour. And usually that's not in stop and go traffic. Now, of course, when there's road construction on a bunch of major arteries in town, that surely clogs things up. And when events are going on in the Monument Civic Center, sometimes all in the same building, we got a hockey game going on, along with a concert, along with a school kids performance of some kind. So getting out of the parking lot and home can sometimes be a traffic nightmare at that time. When my son and my daughter were in middle school band, they had an all-school band performance at the Monument Civic Center. And on top of that, there were different times at which time you came, dropped your kids off, picked up your kids. So sometimes while you were trying to get there, other people are also trying to come in and grab your spot. It got to be a little bit of a traffic nightmare. If you're out doing the touristy things during tourist time, you can expect a little more traffic. Going to Mount Rushmore on July 4th, better get there early. And if you want to attend the Buffalo Roundup in Custer, you need to get in line at 3 a.m. or earlier. I had a client of mine that left his house at 1:15 in the morning from Rapid City to get to Custer to get in line to get a chance to see the buffalo run. But as a local, you know there are places that you can go during the tourist times that the majority of tourists aren't at, so you can still enjoy the Black Hills. And then when spring and fall come along, that's our time to really enjoy our hills. However, Rapid City is pretty spread out, and while we do have a bus system, it is relatively limited, so your public transportation is kind of limited in town. It would definitely not be considered a walkable city. Even if you had an apartment downtown, the nearest grocery store is a good 10, 12, 15 blocks away. And while we do have taxis and ride-share services, it's just so much easier if you own a car. Because of our trade radius and our tourism, we do have the big box brand name stores that you need. Best Buy, Lowe's Hardware Store, Safeway, and of course, Target and Walmart. Plus we've got regional stores such as Shields Sporting Goods and Menards Hardware. At the hub of it all is downtown Rapid City. You've got your unique local shops, history, many of the great restaurants are downtown. You've got the presidential statues and Main Street Square, where you've got so many family-friendly events, from movies in the square to the recent Pumpkin Festival, and even things for the adults like the upcoming Beer Festival. We've got a growing food and music scene. However, if you're used to the big town nightlife, that's going to be kind of lacking here in Rapid City. We just don't have that nightlife like other cities have. Unfortunately, it's not all roses and candy. The homeless population downtown is pretty prevalent, as the Cornerstone Rescue Mission isn't too far away from downtown. So it's not uncommon to see a bunch huddled around a bench or to be asked for some handouts. The city is doing what they can to help with the situation, and some private organizations recently have got some grant money to beef up their help in that area. And the police department recently got an increase in their budget to help with some of these issues going forward in 2026. I've been told by many people that Rapid City is a very clean city. There are ordinances for no camping in parks, so you won't see any tent cities. You won't have anything like that going on. If it's busy downtown, parking, make sure you have time to find some, because it can be kind of a pain. There are parking meters on some of the main streets. You can find some free parking a few blocks off if you want to walk a little bit. But if you want to park downtown, you got to pay some money, which was kind of a big point of contention a number of years ago. Rapid City has grown pretty quickly in the past 5 years, about 10,000 people being added to our city. And they're expecting another 18,000 in the whole Black Hills area in the next 5 years. However, with growth like this comes some issues. Rapid City is making some key improvements in water and sewer line infrastructure, but this stuff takes time. While the main roads through town get a lot of attention, as they probably should, but summer is not only tourist season, it's also orange cone season. It seems like they've been working on some of these projects for years. Some of the residential streets here are pretty beat up. With the temperature changes around here, that really is hard on the asphalt and the concrete, and in some other areas where the ground hadn't been prepared correctly, where there was some sinking going on, and then you kind of got this roller coaster of a ride along the street.
General. Like a piece of cake.
And along the same lines, the main streets gets plowed when there's snow very quickly. But if you're in a subdivision, that might be a day or two before they get to your street. Since I've mentioned snow, it's time to talk about the weather. This is one of the main questions I get about living in our area. It's actually kind of surprising that I waited till now to talk about the weather. Last year I did a video about the extreme weather of South Dakota. And guess what city was at the height of the unpredictability weather pattern? Rapid City. When people are asking, I'm coming in October, what kind of weather can I expect? The answer is yes. October 3rd is coming up. That is the anniversary of the 2013 blizzard, which dropped 5 foot of snow in 24 hours in our area. However, just 5 days ago, this year, my wife and I were on the lake, on the boat, enjoying the sun. You never know what kind of weather you might get in Rapid City, so you gotta be prepared for it all. There are days when you're walking out the door in shirt sleeves, but you better have a jacket or something in your car. I know you're wondering about the snow, but maybe something that you might not realize is the wind. The wind in South Dakota is kind of like your angry neighbor, always there watching. Summertime is usually at its ebb, where we're seeing 8-9 miles an hour wind, like most of the time. But during the fall and spring, as weather patterns are moving, we could see 20-30 mile an hour winds for days at a time. I've been in other places where there's no wind, and I'm just like, what's wrong here? This doesn't feel right, because you just kind of get used to having some kind of air movement. But sometimes with the wind comes the snow and the blizzards. We are known for some pretty epic blizzards where they shut down the interstates and you can't go anywhere. Now in Rapid City, the interstate gets shut down at Deadwood Avenue and east of Box Elder. So usually you can get from one side of the town to the other on the interstate if you need to. But if the interstate's closed, should you really be driving on the roads? It's usually just that light stuff that gets blown around, so you have more of a visibility issue and a drifting issue than it is a snow piling issue. Sometimes those blizzards can bring 70-mile-an-hour winds and wind chills in the negative double digits. That's when you stay home and enjoy your mortgage.
What's the matter? You guys cold? It's not so much the heat, it's the humidity that'll kill you.
However, winter in Rapid City is not as bad as other places of the state. Usually happens, we have some snow, it warms up the next day to 35, 40 degrees, that snow melts, and it starts all over again. Usually the first snow that's on the ground will not be around in a couple months. Where sometimes on the east side of the state, once they get snow, it's there the entire year. Typically our temperature in the winter will average about 10 degrees warmer than the east side of the state, and we'll see that sun on average 260 days of the year. So it might be 10 degrees outside, but at least the sun is shining and there's a clear blue sky. Then you have March come along, we're thinking, it's almost springtime, right? Not so fast. March really is more of a winter month. March is usually the month where we're getting more of our heavier snows, the piling more, and as it gets a little bit warmer temperature, they tend to be a little more of the cement snowball type snow. Then we get into April where temperatures are starting to get more into the 40s and 50s, but that doesn't mean winter's over. There's been years in the middle of May, on Mother's Day, we were outside building forts in the snow. And there was one year where we had snow the last Monday in May. They canceled school on the last week of school. As we head into June, we're thinking, yay, summer. Again, maybe not so much. June tends to be a little bit cooler. It tends to be a little rainier time of year. So sometimes we're like jonesing to get and put the boat in the water, but it's just too cold yet. Finally, we get into summer in July and August being the hottest months of the year. Fortunately, being in a drier climate, we don't have that huge yucky humidity that I had when I was growing up in Minnesota. And a lot of nights it gets cool enough that you can actually sit outside on the deck and enjoy the evening. But oftentimes during the summer, you'll have that nice warm day, and about 3 or 4 o'clock, here comes the thunderstorm. And on the front edge of that, guess what happens? We get hail. For the most part, the hail is just be the smaller pea-sized stuff that doesn't do a whole lot of damage. But typically, during the course of the year, we'll get one damaging hailstorm per year somewhere in the Black Hills that causes damage to roofs and sometimes siding or cars. We ain't got hurricanes, but we definitely got hail. We definitely have our 4 seasons here in Rapid City. You never know really what to expect. In fact, we were out at the pumpkin patch this past weekend and it was 90 degrees. It was hot. It just didn't feel like fall at that time. But coming up this weekend, it's going to be 55 degrees and raining. The weather in Rapid City, it keeps you on your toes. Another thing that I love about Rapid City is our access to nature. There's 2 hills that are in town that have miles of hiking and biking trails. You don't even have to leave town and you're walking down the path. You got some city views. You can be all by yourself on the trail. Then you've got Canyon Lake and Rapid Creek coming all the way through town with the bike path following that creek from one side of town to the other. And there's lots of little places along the way where you can stop and sit by the creek, enjoy nature, and be part of it. Rapid City has been called the City of Parks. You're never too far away from some park, whether it be a green space, whether it actually have playground equipment or picnic tables, whatever. You're never too far from nature in Rapid City. Plus, you've got the Black Hills in your back door. And as I mentioned earlier, you can find a lot of great places to be all by yourself if you know where to go. Plus, each Black Hills town has its own character, its own charisma, their own events like all year long. So there's always something to do somewhere in the Black Hills. But as I mentioned before, the popular things, they're popular. You want to go watch the hot air balloons rise at the Strata Bowl? You better be getting up there pretty early in the morning to get yourself a good spot. But what if you want to get out of town and go somewhere else? Unfortunately, travel in our area, we're pretty remote. It gets kind of hard. All your bigger towns that are similar size to Rapid City are 5 hours away. Denver is 6 to 7 hours away, which is usually the let's go shopping for a weekend trip. Now, fortunately, we've got some wonderful things to the west that aren't too far away. You can be in the Bighorn Mountains in 3 hours. You can be in Teton National Park in about 7 hours. Rocky National Park by Denver, like I mentioned, is about 7 hours away. And if you're a true Midwesterner, you'll drive all the way to Glacier National Park, which is about 13 hours away. And flying ain't cheap either. With a smaller regional airport, really what you're doing is you're flying to a hub and then going from there. We do have Allegiant that takes us to Las Vegas and to Mesa, and recently during parts of the year to Orlando. And then there's a few other in-season direct flights. Other than that, you're either flying to Salt Lake City, Denver, Minneapolis, or Dallas and flying out from there. So it's not just like jumping on a plane and going somewhere. It's usually a full day of travel to get you where you want to go, and usually kind of hard on your pocketbook. And finally, there's Midwest Nice. Now, this is something that I wasn't aware of, but a lot of people that came to the area have told me over and over again that people are so nice here. You can walk down the street and say hi, they'll say hi back to you. You can have whole conversations at the grocery store or through the cashier, complete strangers, and just feel like they really are concerned about you and your life. I had one client that were just baffled because as we were doing the walkthrough before closing, we were outside. The neighbors came over, introduced themselves, told them about the area, told them about the neighborhood, told them if they never need anything, they can come on over, and all the different things. And they were just surprised at how wonderfully nice the neighborhood was. Now, obviously, that's not everybody in town, but it's been a theme that I've heard over and over again. All right, so what did I miss? What topics did I not discuss in what it's like to live here? I tried to lay it all out on the line to give you some of the good points as well as the bad. I've also created a relocation guide called The 13 Reasons Why You Should Move to Rapid City. The link for that's down below in the description. If you like this video and are interested in learning more about moving to Rapid City, well, you got a whole lot of videos on this channel to watch. But here's one about the weather, and here's one about all the things to see in the Black Hills. Thanks so much for watching. Have an amazing day. Remember, love where you live.